Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Before I wind up the debate, I want to start by expressing some gratitude for those who were part of this process. Because we have robust debates in the House as part of a very robust democracy that we have. And sometimes we don't remember the people who work to ensure that this democracy works. And I know how it felt being here all day since morning. I had to take 2 Tylenol while the minority leader was speaking. But I can only imagine what it has been like for the support staff of this House, of this Parliament. And so I want to start the winding up by thanking you, Madam Presiding Officer, thanking the Clerk of the House, thanking the administrative staff, the Hansard recorders, those who work in hospitality in and around this Parliament, and all other support staff, those in audio, visual, security. We have changed the guards a couple of times during the day, but I want to thank you all for being here and being part of this process. You are very much a part of this democracy, and I want you to know that we appreciate that you have been here with us throughout. Yes. Madam Presiding Officer, I want to address a few concerns. The minority leader spoke earlier. Nothing much really that is substantial enough and warrants much of a response. He didn't really probe the budget statement in any real way. He simply made a phone call to Trinidad and they sent up, I heard they sent up the people to meet him at Magdalena to plan the budget's response. But if that's what they went to Magdalena to do, they could have just stayed home, to be quite honest. There are a couple of things I want to start with. The first is I want us to bear in mind the figure 56.65 billion. 56.65 billion represents how much the PNM received between 2001 and 2022. Really? $56.65 billion from 2001 to 2022. He spent his time talking about a $7 billion for this administration. They have had the benefit of $56.65 billion across 21 years. And we're still in this House talking about the absence of public ECCE schools in some villages. It was not so long ago in the minority. I represented the member for Roxborough Argyle because he was absent. He's an absentee landlord long time. He was absent. And they were doing site visits for ECCEs. One was to be built in Roxborough opposite the Police Youth Club, right in that cocoa field, sandwiched somewhere between the police station and the new hospital. There is no ECCE there. And that was long before the police station got started. Another was supposed to be in Bell Garden. Still no ECCE. $56.65 billion. Plus 21 years. And they're coming to the House to say that we don't have sufficient public ECCE schools. We are about to build one in Corland. And I'm guaranteeing it will be finished before our term in office ends. 56.65 billion. And we're still discussing Roxborough Hospital. If they built a hospital and they cut ribbon for a hospital, I am sure my name is not on the cornerstone on that building, on that hospital. Why the hospital not 24 hours? They built a hospital. Why didn't they open a 24-hour hospital when they gave it to the public to Tobagonians? It's because they didn't build a hospital. They built a hospital, borrowed some equipment, take out some picture, pose up, and the next day they send back the equipment. That's what they did. And we are diligent in ensuring that we do it right. Healthcare comes with risk, and the risk has to be managed. and we have to be responsible in managing the risk. We could open overnight 24 hours, and then we see debts, and then we have to face litigation. We have to manage the risk involved. And so in my budget statement, I made mention of the fact that we are looking at from July 1 to begin running the A&E 24 hours and have it as part of a testing phase where external examiners will look at the operation, give us an analysis, and so by the time we get to September 1, we'll be able to open for full services 24/7. We're doing this thing the proper way, taking our time to do it well. Secondly, he spoke about Manta Lodge, and I want to correct some errors there. He spoke about Manta Lodge as if we took the Manta Lodge Hotel and gave it to some foreign company to run. Madam Presiding Officer, the assent collection is part of our branding. The franchise does not own the hotel. The hotel is still owned by the people of Tobago and the Tobago House of Assembly. There were only 2 bids in the tender, and none of those bids were suitable, Madam Presiding Officer. And so this executive took the decision to actually retain the hotel, have EIDCOT operate as managers of the hotel, and find an international brand for the hotel. The procurement legislation is about the disposing of assets. It's about the purchase of services. That does not fit when it comes to this context. Additionally, Madam Presiding Officer, one will appreciate that most international companies will never register on our OPR list. What does that mean? Does that mean that we should never buy a plane ticket with British Airways because they're not registered on our OPR list? Does that mean that we should not sit down and hammer out a deal with Condor Airlines because they are not registered on an OPR list? I wonder if the Indian businessman Rowley parade around Tobago today on the OPR list. I wonder how much people tender. Right? They already went, handpick, find a man in there who Google say have fraud charges, drag him here, parading him around the country, and already make up their mind. They're giving him assets, they're giving him investments to do here. Where the OPR in that? I wanted to write the OPR about that and about that process. And let me say this. I am very much in support of foreign direct investment. I believe if this Indian businessman has what it takes to revolutionize some industries in the country, we should do business with him. I have no issue with that whatsoever. But what I abhor is hypocrisy. What I abhor is a kind of arrogance that says, if I do it, it's okay, but if you do it, it's wrong. And that we must reject and reject fully. And I want to tell you a bit about this Manta Lodge Hotel and what is happening at Manta Lodge. Because it was raised, and I want us to appreciate how they do business. So after the 2 tenders, none of which were successful or met the minimum requirement, the decision was taken that EIDCOT would operationalize and manage the property in the meanwhile. EIDCOT then commenced a recruitment process with the public search for an operations manager. Of the applications received, the top-ranked candidate was engaged and commenced the pre-opening activities in January 2024. And I'm saying this because I heard the next one said that we just opened the hotel for mostly the rich and famous to romp, or is a romping shop or some story like that, right? But then again, I shouldn't take anything those people say seriously. Subsequently, so January, we start pre-opening activities. Subsequently, EIDCOT continued public recruitment. Thus far, approximately 25 staff members have been recruited across all positions. All positions. The majority of those, and don't feel no way, colleagues, the majority of those employees are from Delaforge, Charlottesville, and Speyside. Right? Simultaneously, with the recruitment process, Iadicott sought to complete renovations on the property, which was left incomplete by Udicott, although Udicott handed me a golden key, sometime a very giant gold key at the opening. It was still incomplete. Insufficient water storage. The hotel was running out of water because they only had like about 2 tanks. Insufficient water storage. That's a $370,000 problem to fix plumbing. Inadequate security measures, $310,000 plus. You have to install all kind of camera and security system to meet today's age. Incomplete outfitting of guest rooms to ensure they have patio furniture, safes, irons, bins, pillows, lamps, coffee machines. That is $377,000 plus. Incomplete outfitting of the commercial kitchen, another $195,000. Improperly sized equipment at laundry and bar has resulted in us having to spend $125,000. Termite treatment. The secretary spoke about termite. A billing on that year and a termite, which means they utilized wood that was untreated, right? That's $111,000 plus problem. Inadequate rain protection at reception and restaurant. Madam Presiding Officer, I was there soon after the opening. We were all there because we decided to save the money and use the hotel for our retreat. And when the rain falls, you cannot sit down in the only dining room in the hotel. That cannot be an appropriate design for a country, for an island, where we have 2 seasons, wet or dry. Thank God it doesn't snow. Incomplete installation of, so the rain protection, the rain issue, the weather issue is a $71,000 plus problem. Incomplete installation of HVAC, that's a $51,000 plus problem. Inadequate provision of office accommodation, $55,000 plus problem. You see, generator, Udicott has failed to connect the generator to the property. And in Speyside, power outages are typically 4 to 5 times per week. That's regular up there. They just take the lights when they want to. Winky, blinky, and nod. That's what they are. So if you're running a hotel in that area, you better have generator access. They have to do that too. The point I'm making, Madam Presiding Officer, is that we have to spend millions to fix what's supposed to be a complete structure. And this is not a unique circumstance, Madam Presiding Officer. Collar Hall, Officer Chief Secretary. You know it leaking? You know we have to fix roof on the new wings. It leaking. The only reason I haven't posted photos of the chief at desk is because it had confidential papers that went up on the woman's desk. This is a new building. That's how they just do things. They just make mess and we just clean up the mess. And so this attempt to mislead the public about this little hotel is really to try everything in their power to ensure that the hotel fails. That's what they want. Thirdly, the minority leader gave data without giving a single context from where the data came from. Single context. I believe, Madam Presiding Officer, he make up all them data there.
As usual.
He made up all those quotes. Tobagonians don't talk so. All them quotes they make up. Right? All them quotes they make up. The names make up, the quotes make up, all of them make up. None of them valid, Madam Presiding Officer. And so, Madam Presiding Officer, let's talk on some of those made up things that he brought. He spoke about lack of consultation, and Assistant Secretary Tate bear me witness that we consulted with those in Paltavere for the fishing depot, and not even once We consulted with them inside the community center. Then we went outside with the designs and we stood on the site and we showed them and we consulted. And after the first phase, a few weeks ago, we were back there going through them before the second phase even went to tender with the project managers. More than that, he spoke about the Blue Food Ground. The last consultation for Blue Food Ground was on the 21st of September 2023. You know why I remember the date? Because the villagers were so indecisive about where to put our dirt oven and delayed the whole project that the most we could have done for last year was to provide concrete platforms. But you know what's the minority leader's problem? When that project is completed, we no longer have to rent tents, we don't have to rent stage, we don't have to rent platform, we don't have to rent lights, and we don't have to give friends and family money in their pockets to host a Blue Food. That's the problem. And I know where you get the information from. I know where you get it from. Because Northside is small communities. I know everybody. I know the family is there. So I know those were the mischief makers, Madam Presiding Officer. And they are members of his own party. So that's quite expected. Madam Presiding Officer, he also spoke about the connector road. And maybe I'll use the connector road to bring home a specific point to Tobagonians. He spoke about the connector road that we will name after Dr. Winston Murray. And I agree with him that a university for Tobago is certainly something we must do in the legacy of Dr. Murray. But when I listen to what's happening in THTI, we are heading in that direction. Yeah. We didn't talk about the fact that we actively are looking to have UNESCO University in Tobago so that we could have biodiversity studied on this island and that we have persons talking to foreign universities, including Cambridge and so on. Right? So I agree. That's good. But that connector road, one has to be the most self-hating, kind of self-loathing, lack of self-esteem kind of Tobagonian to believe that it is always better for somebody else to come and do it for you. The Tobagonians I know are always proud to work for themselves. We don't have to have much. We just need to know that we have the power to work for ourselves. And I spoke with the PS in the ministry in Trinidad a few months ago. I was at a meeting at the Ministry of Works there. And she mentioned the need to extend the road going to the airport directly, passing behind the restaurant, that's Apex and so on. All of those lands, they are private lands. None of those lands, they are public lands. And I said, well, send us the money. We will pay for the land and we will build it. But if you don't send the money, then we are stopping right at the junction to Tobago local road, because that's where our money run out. They bar out the road, they incite people to stop the road, they send PNM party groups, aka EMA and Tongue and Country Planning and whoever else, to stop the road. They do everything to make the road not happen, because they haven't built a single proper road in the 21 years that they're here. The best they could have done was finish the road that Hochoy started between Hope and Mason Hall and Big Hole in Goodwood. And it's Hochoy start them road there. I drive into Tongue long time. Right? I drive into Tongue long time. So they can't fool me. And perhaps the north side connector road, the little road by our garden side. Right? That's the best they could have done. So I understand the jealousy that has caused a kind of anxiety among them and in the person. So you have to stop the road. And now that the road look like it's going to actually be finished, the same people who did not want the road want us to extend the road. You understand how that works? And then on top of that, why can't the member argue that instead of you coming to Tobago to do the road, give us our rightful allocation and we will conceive and build any road we want. So you're not giving us the allocation, you're keeping back the money for yourself, and then turn it back and say, if you want it, beg me, and we will do it for you. Beg me nice enough, behave nice enough, and we will do it for you. How does that work? And, you know, I wrote a word on my paper here, which is arrogance. There is a point when hypocrisy graduates to arrogance. And it's a kind of arrogance in this country that says, if you're not paying them, then you're not right. If you're not paying them, then you're not God's party. If you're not paying them, then you should not be in government. If you're not paying them, then you should never get a chance. Because it must be we and we and we and we alone. Because one and one is enough. That's arrogance, Madam Presiding Officer. This country have talented people, and they come in all shapes, size, all ethnicities, from all religious persuasions, and everybody must have an opportunity to sit in the office I now hold. PNM birthright is not the Tobago House of Assembly. As a matter of fact, the THA is like a bastard child to the PNM. They never supported it. When Robinson and Murray was looking, if I had my way, them can't participate in a THA election, you know. You talk about the hypocrisy. When Robinson and Murray was trying to get THA, they were running around having petition and signing with right hand, left hand, to say that Tobagonians don't want a THA. And the same hypocrites, after the THA come, run and try to be members of the THA.